Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. The title of today's segment is Making Lies Your Refuge. Once again, the title of today's segment is Making Lies Your Refuge. As we look across the earth, we see the children of Israel has become one like unto their enemies. We continue to take a hold of lies which profit us for nothing. And so on this segment, we're going to go over some of our ways and some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that we're seeing, bearing witness to, that way we understand clearly that the Most High's words are to be obeyed. They are indeed true, for the children of Israel will bear witness to these words with their own eyes. As we read it in the text, we should be able to look at our current circumstances, regardless of where we may live in the diaspora, and see the effect and the power of the Most High's words by way of his prophets. Once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws. Do not turn to the left or to the right, or you will get hit in the mouth. We must walk the straight and narrow way of the Most High commandments. We are not to turn to the right hand or to the left hand. On this segment, I will simply be speaking to you. I will not reference the book. There are many videos on this channel that can verify everything that will be said here today. All right. I came across an article on rt.com, Russia Today, where it states that a bishop was corrected for telling the children that there is no Santa Claus. That is all made up. It's a farce. It is false. And it is just not real. Now, this situation happened in Italy. Apparently, some children were gathered somewhere at one of the dioceses, and this one bishop, instead of him perpetuating the lie that has been told for centuries, he decided to tell the truth, that this Santa and his red suit was actually created by the Coca-Cola company. And that is a lie, and there is no such thing. Now, this man came forward and spoke the truth. And the parents were highly upset. So were the Catholic leaders within that diocese, because that man stepped up and spoke the truth. Now, I do understand that the truth perishes in these nations. When you decide to speak truth, when you decide to bring forth any type of righteousness, you're shunned upon. You're shunned upon. So you should clearly understand where it is that you dwell and exactly what's going on in the midst of these nations. Evil and wickedness. Now, this took place in Sicily. Now we know the Catholic Church is Roman. That's in Italy. Now, the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity is one and the same. Christianity came out of the Roman Catholic Church. It's part of Catholicism. Christianity is a form of government. And that is the form of government that runs all the European nations. They are all Christian nations. That's why when one goes to war, the other will follow. They're all one and the same. And for no reason should you ever believe that they are enemies. Even Russia. That is a Christian nation also. Orthodox Christianity. These are all Christians. They all adhere to Rome. That is why when there's any dispute over lands, they consult that Catholic Pope. Whenever one is elected in one of these many Christian nations, at some point of his tenure, he will visit the Pope. They will not visit the Baptist preacher, but they will visit that Pope. When there's disputes, they will consult the Pope, because they are all under the Roman doctrine. That's why they all have some form of parliament or Senate type government. These Christian nations are nothing but splinters or splinter cells of the Roman Catholic Church. That's all they are, nothing more, nothing less. And it is built upon idolatry. So as he came forward and spoke about this Santa being a lie, it ruffled some feathers. Parents were upset because they have taken lies to be their refuge. They find comfort in lies, and the truth is somehow unsettling to them. Now, what he did not say is that JC is also a lie, and so is the entire house of Christianity, so to speak. All of that is a lie also. That he did not say. But hopefully in time we will have more that will stand up and say that that's a lie also. But we can already prove that by going through the Holy Scriptures. So we see clearly where even within the midst of the nations, they are unwilling to face the truth. They're unwilling to deal with righteousness, and to say something that is righteous or to even do something that's righteous is unsettling to them. And that is why in the midst of these many nations, you will see clearly when a murderer or someone who is guilty, when he is charged, the unrighteous man is upset. When righteous judgment is handed down, the unrighteous are upset. When truth is told, the unrighteous are upset and become angry. And you should not be surprised by this, for you're in the midst of your enemies, you're in the midst of the heathen who know not the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. Now, we have become as our enemies. We tell our children these same lies and become upset when one of these lies are exposed and we are revealed to be hypocrites. So our parents, this same Santa Claus lie, we become adults. We understand clearly that this is a lie. But many of the children of Israel continue to teach this to their children. And when someone tells their children that this is a lie, they become upset. When someone tells the average Christian who is an Israelite that has taken a hold of this Roman lie, once we tell them that JC is a Roman idol, he can profit you for nothing, and the Most High is one, he has never been two or three, and that the son of the strong one of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he is one, that upsets them also. Even though you can take them into the text and show them clearly that Yah is one. He has never been three. And that no one has ever died for their sins. It's against the Creator's laws. You can take them and show them this. You can show them clearly where the Most High states that his son is Israel. And to bring this before their very face, they become upset. Why is this? Because the bitter is now sweet, and the sweet is now bitter. Lies are somehow a comfort unto us. Truth is somehow unsettling unto us. Punishments are now seen as blessings. And what do I mean by that? Many of our people will state that they're blessed and highly favored. They have confused cursings for blessings. When the Most High punishes them, somehow they feel as though that is a blessing somehow. The fact that they're still alive, though they're being punished continually. Not ever taking a moment to reflect upon the fact that maybe I'm being punished to consider my ways, that I may change my ways and my doings and make it good. That way I will no longer have to endure such correction. This is not the thinking of our people. Once again, the bitter is now sweet. The unclean is now clean. So therefore, what we were instructed as unclean foods, we now are eating it, enjoying it. And I know Israelites that I will tell them clearly, hey, such and such, the pig is unclean. This is unclean and that's unclean. And they'll look at me and tell me clearly, but it's good though. I'm going to eat such and such. So they're defiant. They are stubborn when it comes to this. They refuse to hear. The holy is somehow become profane. So all the profane things, whether it be of speech or one's actions, it's now become commonplace within the nations. And to speak of anything that's holy and anything that's righteous and anything that is correct, all of a sudden you have opposition because our people know not the right way. And when you try to encourage them in the way that is right, you will face opposition. So the bitter is now sweet. We have become as our enemies. There was a time when the house of Israel, homosexuality was intolerable. Now we're beginning to accept this thing, many of the children of Israel, because the nations have made such wickedness law. So now we have become accepting of behaviors that we were strictly instructed that should not be allowed in the midst of our people. For when we take part in these evils or turn a blind eye to them, it causes wickedness to spread throughout the congregation. So just to become accepting of such a thing is going to cause the destruction of the nation and ultimately all those who accept it or become accepting of it. We have placed our trust in vanities, things that profit us for nothing. We have placed our trust in government. We have placed our trust in JC. That has certainly failed us. We have placed our trust in religion. We were not given religion. We were given laws. We have placed our trust in voting, and voting has failed us. For the Most High instructed us clearly that we should not at no time ever put a stranger ahead of us to lead us, nor are we to put someone to lead us who does not walk within his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. And this is why voting has failed. We have placed our trust in democracy, and it has failed. For in America, we are in a democratic society, a democratic nation, and yet the children of Israel are at the bottom of the barrel. Everyone has received reparations or compensations for any damage that has been done to them as a collective. However, the children of Israel has not. And though we may cry and beg and plead and march, any reparations that we will only get that once we turn to the Most High. It's impossible to turn to your enemies, for they know not righteousness. So we have to remove ourselves from placing trust in vanities, things that cannot deliver anything unto us. And the more we strengthen ourselves in these falsehoods, the further removed and the further estranged we become from the Most High. All of these things, the government, religion, voting, and democracy, all of which you have had no hand in trading. We did not create the democratic form of government. We did not create JC or these religions. We did not create these voting processes. And that is why they will change and gerrymander the different votes and change things around in these many districts based upon how many of the children of Israel lives in these areas. We have to understand everything that these nations do, it's directly or indirectly related to our people, regardless of where we may be in that diaspora. We're unwilling to hear the truth or seek it out. To seek the truth takes work. It is easy to go with what one believes. So a belief is something that doesn't require any effort. You can tell me a lie and I could say, well, I believe you. And there it is. That's the end of that conversation. However, if I don't believe you and I decide to take the time to investigate, turn over a few rocks, spend some time investigating and contesting that which has been said, then I can find the truth in the matter. And like I have said in videos in times past, to find the truth in a matter is to find God in a matter, for He is truth. And wherever you may find truth, whether it be in the past, in the present, or in the future, it is the one thing in the earth that regardless of when it is found, it will be found in the exact form and state as when it began. The truth is unchangeable, and so is Yah. We know clearly that to believe takes no effort and doesn't need proof or validation. So therefore, someone could say they believe in JC. He doesn't have to prove that to you. He just has to say he believes, and that makes it so. However, as the children of Israel who walk within the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High, we can tell you JC is a lie, just like Santa Claus is a lie. In fact, JC is nothing but a summertime Santa with sandals instead of boots. So we can go into the text and show you clearly where Santa is a lie. But most of our people, once you tell them that JC is a lie and Santa is a lie, they become upset. More so, it doesn't even cross their mind to say, show me where that is. They will not even consider that. But if you tell them, I'll tell you what, I will show you exactly where the Most High said he is one, and he will not give his glory to another, and that his son is Israel, the nation. I will show you where that is. I will take you to Exodus chapter 12, so you will read clearly why the Most High killed the firstborn of everything, man and beast, in Egypt, because the Pharaoh was holding his firstborn, was holding his son, the entire nation of Israel. If you tell them that you are willing to take them and show them that, they don't want to see it. I don't want to read that. I don't want to see that. I don't believe that. So it's easier to believe these things rather than to take the time to learn them. Now, there was a reason why we were not taught to read. And there was a reason why there was a strict punishment handed out unto anyone who attempted to teach us how to read, or any of our people who sought to learn how to read. Because our records are in these books. There's the reason why that we were steered clear from the front of the book, and we were placed in the back of the book, where no one has ever read a book from the back. The front pertains to our records. That is the Torah. That is the book of remembrance. In the back, that's the book of the Romans. That's the book of the Catholic Church. That is the book of the European nations. The book in the front is our records of our patriarchs, of our God and our ways and customs that we have forgotten, that we have discontinued from. In the back is the words of our enemies. And we have taken a hold of things that's in the back. And we're supposed to lead the nations. We're supposed to be up front. Now, just like Santa in the red suit, you go in the back, you can find red writing. Though the Most High spoke directly to his people, we heard his voice, you will never see anywhere up front in our records where the Most High, when he spoke, it was in red print. You will not see it. But you go in the back, you'll find all types of red print there. You need to ask yourself why. So we were not allowed to read because of this knowledge that would come to us. The Most High said he would pour out his spirit upon us in the latter days, that we will go into this book and be able to decipher it. And he will pour out his spirit upon us. And therefore we will turn back onto his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts that we would remember. Now, when a man has lost his memory and he needs to be brought to remembrance, we do not give him something new, i.e. the New Testament. What we give him is things that's happened in his past. And that's exactly where our records are, in the past. That is what the book of remembrance is for, is to bring the house of Israel to remembrance, that we may understand who our God is, that we may understand who we are, and that we may find a way to reconcile ourselves back onto him. That way he in turn will reconcile us back onto each other. For there's a fire in the midst of Israel right now that is tearing the nation apart. We have taken a hold of vanities and lies and things that profit us for absolutely nothing. All right, the truth. The truth perishes in the midst of the unrighteous. The law is the truth. To be void of truth is to be void of Yah. To be void of truth is to be void of law and righteousness. This is why, as you look in the midst of the earth, you continue to see unrighteousness each and every day. Why? Because in these many nations in which we dwell, the Christian nations, all of them are slaveholders. All of them have killed and murdered your people throughout the earth, and have dealt with them in an unrighteous manner and continue to do so today. And so when you see this lawlessness, you should not be shocked. For their doctrine, coming straight from the Roman Catholic Church, is that there is no law. There is no standard by which to abide by. However, the instruction that we were given in the front when we go through our records is that the Most High is full of laws. Everything is done in its due time and in its due season. He has a way for us to pray. He has a way for us to dress. He has a way for us to speak. He has a way that we should eat and a way that we should live. However, the heathen has never known the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. And thus he teaches that there is no law. However, it's not totally the fault of the heathen. For we, the children of Israel, especially the men, We have abandoned our post. We are supposed to be the leaders of the earth. The entire nation is. The house of Israel is supposed to be a nation of priests. What does the priest do? The priest teaches. Not only does he teach, he also enforces judgment. So within these nations, they will tell us there is no law. And they will tell us that we are not supposed to judge. A judge pretty much renders a decision. We make a decision each and every day. We judge each and every day. That is part of one's survival mechanism. So our men have abandoned their post. They are supposed to be the leaders of the earth, and we are supposed to be the people that takes the nations, the Most High's righteousness. We are supposed to teach them these laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. But we have abandoned our post. And therefore there's wickedness all around us. And we are partakers in it. And yet we're asking for righteousness when we do not walk in righteousness. We are asking for justice and judgment when our ways are unjust and unrighteous. And there can be no such thing. A thief and a murderer will not get justice. And so therefore we are offenders of the Most High's word. We are walking contrary to it. And provided we continue on this path, we will continue to see destruction. We will continue to see correction. And we will continue to have this evil upon our houses. For it's the Most High that brings evil unto us, not Satan. We have discontinued our heritage. Our heritage was supposed to be one of righteousness, one of righteous judgment. And we have discontinued righteousness, and we have taken hold of lies and perverseness. We have become unrecognizable to ourselves. We sought to be as the heathen, to worship wood and stone. And we wonder why, by way of this lawlessness, that we are unsuccessful. So we have to understand clearly, we now claim everything but righteousness. So the average man, Israelite, because we have discontinued our heritage that the Most High gave us. The heritage that he gave us was his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Exactly how we are to conduct ourselves. That is supposed to be our culture. Now we claim everything but the heritage of Israel. The black man in the Dominican Republic, he ain't black, he's Dominican. Black man in Brazil is talking about I'm Brazilian, I'm not black. The black man in some of the Spanish-speaking countries said I'm not black, I'm Spanish, etc., etc., etc. So we have taken a hold of nations that is newly sprung up. We've taken a hold of ideologies that's newly sprang up, just came up. We're calling ourselves by all sorts of names that we have not used in times past. So we're claiming to be everything but righteous people because we have discontinued our heritage. The quote-unquote black man in America, some of them now are saying they're indigenous to America. Some are saying they're aboriginal. So regardless of where you find our people, especially our men, there can be no agreement. We are not on one accord of exactly who we are, and we all look alike. And we all are under the same affliction. We have difficulties within our families, within our own hearts and minds. And certainly we have difficulties within our houses. And then we have difficulties when we step out into the street and have to deal with a stranger. So we have to ask ourselves, how come we are claiming everything but righteousness? And whatever it is that we are claiming, it has all failed. Whether it be Pan-Africanism, indigenous status, I'm Spanish, I'm not black, I'm Brazilian, I'm not black, or whatever the case may be. We just seem to want to distance ourselves from anything that could bring us together as a collective. And part of this is because the Most High has set a spirit in the midst of us for there to be contention. And that will not be fixed until we return back unto him and his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. As we reconcile ourselves back unto him, we think differently. Then we act differently. And only then will we reconcile ourselves back onto each other and take the many different ideologies that has been given to us by our enemies and put them aside. We must separate ourselves from our enemies. We were told specifically that we are a special people unto the Most High himself. We were separated from the nations, and the Most High will do it again. He will sift us from among the nations, meaning we'll be separate from them we have always been. So if you're thinking that we're all one people and we're all together, this is not the case. The house of Israel is a nation entirely separate unto the Most High. We are not as everyone else, nor are we to be like everyone else, nor are we to mingle with the heathen. And we are to let go of their ways, their customs, and their laws, certainly their idols. Seeking shelter in the many nations in which we dwell, we are a troubled people. And we continue to seek shelter in the midst of our enemies by walking after his ways and his customs. We serve his gods and have married his daughters. Yet there is no shelter in assimilation. You are in the lands of your enemies. Lands, plural. They don't like you wherever you go. And even if they have someone, for example, in the Caribbean nations, where someone that looks like you is leading, he is in direct opposition to you, and he is in cahoots with his enemies or with your enemies. So he's an enemy unto you. So we have taken a hold of other people's ways, customs, and their laws. We have become an enemy unto ourselves. We have become unrecognizable to ourselves, to where it is hard for us to place trust in each other. However, should we turn to the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, that becomes an easy thing to do. You will know exactly where a man of Israel stands. And assimilation, kissing up, or any of these things will not deliver you from this trouble that you're in these many nations. You can try to assimilate all you want. It will not work. For you are to be separate. You're not to take on the ways of the heathens at all. The Most High says clearly that you will not be allowed to be as the heathen. You will not be allowed to do it. He's going to break you of that habit. Vulgarity and perverseness is the standard of the unrighteous. Speak of perverseness and wickedness, and you have an audience as large as the sea. Speak of righteousness and holiness, and your audience is but few. This channel being one of them. We get into this book and we read, and we speak of the Most High. We speak of his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. We discuss clearly how we have strayed away from them and exactly what we need to do to reconcile ourselves back onto the Most High. You come here, there is no animation, there is no jokes. It is simply you and I and the Most High before us and that law before us, and we read. There are some lessons I've done here. It's been 2 hours of nothing but reading, an hour and a half of nothing but reading. The average Israelite can't stand that. And so therefore he's looking for something to entertain himself with or herself with, that they may forget about their troubles. But no amount of entertainment, no amount of drugs, no amount of alcohol, no amount of perverseness is going to allow you to forget your troubles. These curses will befall you regardless of where you are on the earth. You cannot outrun them. So we see clearly that within the many nations of the earth, wickedness and perverseness happens to be the rule of the day. But we must understand all of this as it pertains to the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, precepts. To do this, to sit down and read for an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time, to eat a diet that is correct, that's going to prevent you from having diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol and heart failure and all the many things that plagues our people. To do all of these things require discipline. So we must understand this. The unrighteous man is disciplined in all his unrighteous ways. An unrighteous man has habits that are unrighteous, and he's diligent with them. He does them repetitively. But we must understand, with the repetition of the unrighteous, we must know that the righteous man is disciplined in his righteous ways also. So a man that is disciplined in his righteous ways, he will continue to do so. His habit forming is what he does on a daily basis. The unrighteous man will do unrighteous things on a daily basis. However, we are to remember that our ways will be upon our own heads. So the unrighteous man will get his just deserts, and so will the righteous man. The unrighteous and his seed will be removed, uprooted, root and branch from the earth. The righteous man will inherit the earth. And this is the part where you have to make a decision on which one of those you will be. As we go through the text, we see clearly where the unrighteous were punished, they were killed, they were removed. Now, we have to use our records from times past. We know certainly that these things are going to happen again in the future as the Most High continue to remove those who are perverse in their ways. And he's also removing some of their children as well. So we have to make a decision. Will we walk in righteousness and live, or will we choose wickedness and perverseness and die? The choice is yours. So when you are corrected at any time and you are punished and evil visits you or your house, it is not the devil, it's the Most High that has brought the evil upon you or upon your house. And when these hardships happen, you are to consider your ways and your doings, and do not say something silly like you are blessed and highly favored. No, you're being punished. You're just confusing bitter for sweet. You have to understand, okay, I'm being punished. What have I done that may have caused this? And if you look carefully, you will find the reason why. You corrected, and the Most High will remove those punishments from your head and your house. It's very simple. To say that there is no law is a lie, and it is blasphemous to the Most High. It is blaspheming the Most High to say that there is no law. Law is order and standard. We have taken a hold of the no law doctrine taught by these Christians, taught by these Romans, taught by your enemies. Keep in mind, your enemies never have, nor they never will, or have they ever given you anything that will be to your benefit. These are your enemies. We have taken a hold of the no law doctrine. Hence we operate in lawlessness as the heathen, and we pay for it daily. Once again, we have taken a hold of the lies and the vanities of the nations. They have told you that there is no law. Hence they operate in lawlessness, and so do you, and so do we as a collective. They were never given the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. However, you were. And so therefore, you now are doing things and acting in a manner that you're not supposed to. And you're accepting things from your enemies without ever taking the time to research what is being said. For the children of Israel are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They don't know. There's one thing when you don't know, but worst yet is when you choose not to know, when all of the information is right here before you. So those that come to this channel, this is not a channel that you will just find on YouTube just like that. It's just not going to happen. This channel, you're going to come here when there's something that you really need, or you find yourself in a certain predicament and you're looking for answers, and you'll find yourself at a channel such as this. But while you're out here looking for some entertainment or something perverse or something silly, because our men, their day-to-day actions are quite silly. They're easily amused. A channel like this will not come across your path, but it will when the time is right, when someone's mind is ready to be adjusted or ready to receive information such as this. Because once you get this information, then you need to make a decision on exactly what do I do with it and how do I further increase my studies. It's hard to hear this even if you disagree with it. When you hear it, some people may turn the channel and be totally disgusted by it, and they don't believe it because they take a hold of Christianity. But once you hear the truth, it's very hard for you to forget it, and it will wear on you. So Though some may hear the truth and turn away from it at some point in time in the future, it comes right back around to where they will have to give it some consideration as things get worse in the midst of the heathen. Confusion of face. The lies have caused confusion and derision in the midst of our people. We have now began to think that curses are now blessings. So now we're quick to say that we're blessed and highly favored. If you're blessed, the first thing we have to ask ourselves, whom are you blessed by? Because the heathen, their God, JC, who is an idol, who can profit you for nothing, he doesn't have the power to bless anyone. Anytime you receive a blessing, it is the Most High that have done it. Anytime there's evil brought upon you or your house, it is the Most High that has done it. Both good and evil is by the way of the Most High. And so when you're blessed, you are to consider it, you are to be thankful for it, and you are to understand there's things that you have done that has caused that blessing. Now, when the Most High decides to bring evil upon you and your house, you must understand it's something that you have done that's against the law, statute, judgments, and precepts of the Most High that has caused him to bring evil upon you and your house. And so then what you do, you go back and investigate, and then you make the corrections, and then you will find relief. There can be no peace without the law, statute, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. Keep in mind that the law brings about peace. Many of our people may have all the money in the world, have the successful jobs, etc., and can't lay down, close their eyes, and have a good night's sleep. You can't buy sleep. You can't buy peace. You can't buy peace of mind. So these things are given to you and granted to you by the Most High. And we are to be mindful of that. We are to turn to the righteousness of Yah's law. It is the only sanctuary that actually protects. The Most High did say in the midst of these nations, though he has scattered us and placed us on punishment in the midst of the heathen, and that we would take a hold of their ways, their customs, their laws, their idols, their women, that we would be out here polluting the holy seed. I see it every day. We would out here blaspheming the Most High in the midst of the heathen. Something good happened to you, you go ahead and blaspheme the Most High by giving some idol credit for it. Something bad happens to you, you blaspheme the Most High again. Talking about Satan did it to you, some evil did it to you. It's the Most High sticking it to you every time. However, the Most High said, though he will cast us into these many nations, and he had turned his face away from us because we turned our backs against him. Though we are in punishment, the Most High has still extended his mercy to us. And the extension of his mercy, that olive branch, is his law, is his covenant. That is his sanctuary. So, back in the days of old, we had the sanctuary that was built that the priest can go into. You couldn't go in there. We went into the outdoor courts. We could not go in to the Most High sanctuary. That is a place only specific, only to Levites, the sons of Aaron. They can go into the holies of holies. Average man could not. And that was the physical sanctuary. Both of those temples have been destroyed. When the third one is built, it will be built on the same place as the exact two were built previously. But in the meanwhile, until the children of Israel gets themselves together and return back onto this law, statutes, judgments, precepts, once we do this thing, then the Most High will gather us out of the many nations where he has scattered us and place us back into the land that he had promised unto our forefathers. And once we return back to that land, then the cleansing process begins of that land. And then we begin to build that third temple on the same spot that the previous two temples were. And then all the peoples of the earth will understand clearly who the Most High's people are. And they will clearly understand then who the Most High really is. And then those that are in these nations, they will come up to learn the ways of the Most High, because the law will go forth from Jerusalem. So you can't possibly say there is no law. When we build that third temple, the law is going to issue out of there. All the other nations are going to have to come up to that temple and pay homage once a year. Our males will have to appear before him 3 times per year. I don't care where you live. So we have a job to do. And in the meanwhile, while we are still scattered in the midst of these nations, being brought to remembrance day by day, the sanctuary that we have now is not a physical sanctuary. The sanctuary that we have now is this law. What is a sanctuary? Sanctuary is a place of rest. It is a place of peace. It's a place that's free of turmoil. So when you return back onto the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, therein you will find rest. Therein you will find peace. So in the process of returning back onto the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, we now turn to the Most High's holy days, and we observe them. And we drop the holidays of the heathen. Nothing but a hustle. And the children of Israel have fallen victims to it. So we are to consider our ways and our doings and make them good. We are to turn away from the falsehoods of these nations. The Santas, the JCs, the Christmas, the Easters, the Thanksgivings, and all the other madness that we have been given by our enemies. We are to keep in mind that our enemies have never given us anything that will be to our profit. They never have, and they never will. They are our enemies for a reason, and that's why we're treated as such throughout the diaspora, regardless of where we are. So we are to remember these things, and we cannot seek righteousness out of our enemies. They don't know what it is. We must seek righteousness from the Most High, and the only way that we will receive righteous judgment is when we ourselves are walking righteously. And then and only then will we be in agreement with the Most High, and then we will be in agreement with each other. I have said before, the nations are our enemies. We can validate this. We can validate it today with what we see. We can validate this with records from centuries past, how our people have been treated throughout the earth. However, they, our enemies, and the children of Israel will not see eye to eye. However, those who are of a contrite spirit, that is of our enemies, that are of the nations, when they do turn to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, then we will see eye to eye with them, and our relationship will change. However, at this current time, our enemies will not change, for they have the upper hand. But it's an amazing thing what a man will do, what a man will say, and how he will change when evil comes upon him. So we were once at the head of the nations. We walked contrary to the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and we were brought low. And now the heathen has magnified himself above us. You will see an amazing thing. Just like we were brought low, so will he. And once he is brought down into that low state, and he is shown exactly what is correct, you will see him have a change of heart as well. And the heathen as well as the Israelite that will take a hold of wickedness and perverseness and will not turn to the Most High's righteousness, they will both be killed. But those who are of a contrite spirit of the children of Israel, and those who are of a contrite spirit of the nations, once we have all turned to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, then and only then will we see eye to eye. The current law of the earth that we think is the law of the earth is what the Christians has presented. And they have done this by the sword. The children of Israel we were never instructed to spread the Torah by the sword, nor have we ever. So once we return to Torah, then and only then will we be on the same accord as the nations. And then we will see eye to eye, because we will all serve the Most High. We will call upon him in one name and with one consent. And the same law that we must follow is the same law that the stranger will follow. For we will all serve one Creator, and there will be one standard throughout the earth. But that standard has always been. But there has been those who sought to cover it up. But once again, once you seek truth, you will find it unchanged in its original form. Whether you find it in the past, the future, or the present, the Most High is unchangeable. So let's not make lies our refuge. Let's turn to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Let's discipline ourselves to read. We must understand the undisciplined man, the unrighteous man. He is undisciplined when it comes to doing that which is right, but he's disciplined in doing that which is incorrect, which is perverse. The man that is righteous, his discipline allows him to maintain his righteousness day in and day out. And at some point, it has to come to a head. The righteous and the unrighteous will battle. And you have to make a clear decision right now on which side you're on. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace to the children of Israel scattered throughout the earth, and peace to the stranger that will take a hold of the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and do them. If we take a hold of this law, and all the people of the earth must, then and only then will we be in agreement. Until then, we will continue to see exactly what we're seeing now. Hatred, wars, perverseness, and flat-out lawlessness. And that can be corrected only one way, by returning back onto Torah. Peace, and Yah bless.